With only 8 games left in the 25-26 season, the Calgary Flames have some decisions to make. Topping the list, but not limited to, is what they're going to do with the logjam of middle-aged veterans. Let's get into it. You are watching the Armchair GM Podcast.
Well, the Calgary Flames have kind of played pretty well lately. If you completely forget about that just embarrassing loss to the Avalanche the other night, they played actually really well, and it's been nice to see because most of those wins are not coming off of the backs of the older players. Now, some of the wins are partially coming in the off the backs of some of the younger guys, but not the really young guys, such as the Morgan Frosts, and Frost has played very well lately, but most of those games that the Flames have been winning, they just went on a 5-0-1 streak there, which really, really worried a lot of fans. But here's the thing. A lot of those wins are coming off of the backs of young guys like Dustin Wolf, young guys like Zane Parekh and Hunter Brzustevich, young guys like Matt Vigardine has absolutely looked electric in a lot of the games that he's played. Before he got hurt, Zary had a couple of really strong games and scored a couple of those really fancy goals that he was scoring a couple of years ago. So yeah, to me, you can't get very frustrated when the Flames are winning. We all want them to get a better draft pick. And yeah, that can be a little frustrating, but a huge part of rebuilding is seeing what you have with young players and developing them properly. And it seems like the way they've been bringing these guys up and sheltering them up to a point in the season where some of the older guys have been moved out and some of these younger guys are moving into more deployment and more trust with the coaching staff and all that type of stuff. It seems to be working well. Now, I think there's a question to be explored here when it comes to where the Flames are going in the long run, right? We have we still have a couple of the old guys, the Blake Colemans and the Jonathan Huberdeaus and stuff like that. Those guys, Huberdeau might be around for a while, but Coleman's not going to be around very much longer. But we have a few of those middle-aged guys, the Farabee, the Frost, the Sharon Govich, the Kevin Ball, a few of those types of players. And I think it's worth exploring how much of that cohort we're going to hold on to over the next few years, or if that's going to be part of what we build around, or if we're expecting, once the Flames are competitive, are we expecting the Wolf, Coronado, maybe Zary, probably maybe not, that kind of cohort to be the older guys? Or are we looking at the older guys being the Farabee Frost cohort? Because I think that's a different age group.
Yeah, I think for balance sake, when it comes to a time in which the Calgary Flames can get back to being competitive, they're going to have some range within their roster as far as age is concerned. I mean, yes, it's nice to have 25 years and less as a team, but I think you're going to need some guys with some experience that know how to go to battle and develop a team within the locker room and just kind of keep players in check and keep guys humble and respect the game and play it the proper way. Um, not saying that I see anything other than that from the guys that we have, in the prospect pool right now, and the guys that are on the team currently, and a couple of them will likely. I mean, I can't see Gradine ever playing for the Wranglers again. There's
No.
he just has way too much swagger and confidence. And I don't see that disappearing. Even if we go on a losing streak to end the season. Um, but I think we need to have somewhat. I'm not saying we need 35-year-old players on the team, but I think the 25 to 30. I think is probably a good set of players to have when we become competitive. So potentially, like a Kevin Ball, at that time, being whatever he'll be, like 28 to 30 years old, when and if the Flames can get back to being competitive, I think there can be something to be said about him still remaining on, the bottom pairing or middle pairing, depending on how his game looks at that time. So, obviously there's reasons to use proper asset management. Once contracts start expiring, what are these players going to want as far as new contracts? If any of these guys are looking for a 6-year deal, I'm probably going to say no for all of the guys you listed. Yeah, I don't think any of them have produced enough to garner any sort of huge payday or anything like that. Um, that being said, I mean, like you said, Frost has been on a bit of a tear right now, but for 4 months of the season, 5 months of the season, he was practically invisible, other than face-offs, right? He, he,
Yeah, I mean, he was practically invisible a lot of the time, and I'm just double checking here. He was practically. The thing is I don't think Frost was ever invisible. I think that he shows a lot of talent when it comes to creating a chance, but zero talent when it comes to finishing a chance. So yeah, I'm just
right.
looking here. So I hear Steinberg saying that he thinks it's going to be 3 years until we're competitive again. I don't believe that for a second. It's going to be 4 or 5 at least, in my opinion. And in 4 or 5
Yeah.
years, all of those guys we were talking about are going to be 30, 31, 32.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so, and I don't have any problem having, 30, 31, 32 year olds on the team. Um, once you start becoming competitive, obviously, you need some of those veteran players. But I'm not sure how many of those guys are going to want to stick around for that whole time. And I don't know how many of those guys, um, the Flames see as a future piece, right? Now, I've heard them talk about um, Frost and Farabee in the past. I've heard them talk about. I think Baloney said that those are guys that you build around. Um, I
Maloney
don't
says
know.
a lot of things.
Yeah, I think that's just fucking nonsense. Like they're
Any,
fine
it,
players, but they're not guys you build around.
no, absolutely not. I mean, anytime somebody hands Mahoney a microphone, somebody from the Flames organization needs to immediately slap it out of his hand. Like, he should not be talking to people, in front of any sort of, microphone, camera, you know,
Just
telephone, whatever.
take
Like, just keep your mouth shut.
just
Just sit in the
take it out
office.
of his hand, smack him on the head with it, and then
Yep.
tell him to fuck off.
Yeah. No. I said,
Like,
fuck no.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Rub his nose in it.
Yeah.
Um, the I I tend to be thinking, like, now, like, I'm not talking like Stanley Cup finals, but I believe in 3 years, I think we're going to be close to fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that competitive though.
True.
right?
That's true.
I'd
But
call that on the upswing of your rebuild, not
right.
competitive. That's
Right.
so. I was talking on Discord the other day, and I feel like we kind of skipped a piece of it here, but I feel like when you start when you're starting your rebuild, you should be around, you know, starting your rebuild, you get the ninth overall pick, you get Zane Perek, right?
Mm.
And then after that, you should be in the bottom five for about 3 years, if not
Right.
four. And then after that, you go back up to the ninth or 10th pick. And then after that, you go up to the 15th, 16th pick. And then you start being in the playoffs, being competitive and being in the playoffs every year. It's like a 5, 6 year thing. Now
I
we
mean, you
skipped one year
basically
there.
just described like a 7 or 8 year thing. I don't want to do it Edmonton Oilers style.
Well, Edmonton Oilers was like 12.
Well, minimal. Like it was, fuck, it was like 2008 when they started that. That's
I
18 years
just
ago.
don't think that you want to rush it. And I think that expecting to be fighting for a playoff spot in 2 more years from now is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think they should rush it at all either.
Yeah.
Um, I think, yeah, I think 3 years is a reasonable time frame to start. Like you're on your upswing, you're moving forward.
Yeah.
Um,
3 years at the bottom.
yeah, I think on that third year you're starting up, but
Yeah.
because especially with the amount of picks that we have in the next two drafts. Not that they're gonna pick all of those, right? I can't
Well,
see
they're
them
not going to pick
picking
all of those.
eight.
And you're looking at like 100 second round picks and only, a certain amount of second round picks actually make it. And most of them take fucking 5, 6 years to get there. Right. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like you're looking at like look at Rasmus Anderson for instance. He didn't come out and be and like a really good NHL level defenseman for like 4 years after he was drafted.
mhm,
Right?
yeah,
So you're looking at
I mean,
drafting a few players really high in the draft, like 2 to 3 players really high in the draft, and then as those guys are developed into stars,
mhm,
in 2 or 3 years from then all of your second round picks from this year have kind of caught up or almost caught up, type of thing.
right.
Um, but
Yeah, and we're in a good position for the next 3 years to draft well because we do have two firsts in each of those 3 years.
yeah,
So that's a positive sign for the future of the Flames for sure.
absolutely. And one thing
And
that's worth talking about too is the the later first round picks that the Flames have had in the last little bit turn into Matt Gerdine. Like they pick guys that everybody on TSN is like, who is this guy, or why is he being picked so high? And all of the fans are like, why is this guy being picked so high?
yeah,
And then lo and behold, a couple years later, we're looking at this guy turning into a solid NHL player, way ahead of a lot of the guys in that draft.
yeah, and also like when you think about where the team's going to be, you know, in 5 years, then you're actually looking at your middle, like your 28-year-olds at that point are going to be like Coronado.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Mm,
at that point in time, you're looking at your 28 to 30-year-olds are going to be Coronado,
yeah,
Zary, Ball, and your 30, 31-year-olds are going to be Sharon Govich and those
yeah.
types of guys, right? Like
Yeah, I think out of the ones that you listed there with Sharon Govich, Frost, Farabee, and Ball for me is the only one that really moves the needle. Um, where I feel like Frost, Frost and Farabee have potentials to bring back decent assets at the trade deadline. Sharon Govich, it depends on the season, right? It's hit or miss. It depends on how he's doing at the time. I don't think he'll never bring a first. Um,
Yeah.
but if he can bring a second and a prospect, I would
Consider it.
obviously entertain that. I would consider that. And then like you also have Honzak too, right? Who's going to be coming back next year, but he's also going to be in that 25 to 30 range, and when the team's competitive.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like,
you're looking at a bunch of players here who you're probably going to want to keep two or three of them, but you've got like six of them, right?
right.
And the good part of it is that I believe all of them are signed for another couple years.
Mhm.
So you have some time to think about it. But if you get a good trade offer for one of these guys, like you look at a Joel Farabee, he's younger than you would expect, but he's also kind of incredibly mid. Like I have no problems with him really on the ice, but does he move the needle as a guy that you want on the team in 5 6 years, or would you be better off selling him while he's still a little younger, and some of the other teams around the league might be thinking, oh well, look, he's played pretty well in Calgary, maybe we can bring him bring him in and boost him even more.
Absolutely. I mean, Farabee still has another 2 years on his
Deal.
deal after this
Yeah.
season, where Frost only has the 1 year. And so I think Frost is going to be one of those guys that will be important to move. I mean, I would say mid, this off season or deadline next year, where his contract is expiring, so he's not much of a risk for whoever takes him. So I think we'll be able to get a better return because of that.
Yeah.
Where Farabee at least
And he's the
okay, you'll keep
center
him
and
for
he's
another year, and
26.
and sorry.
Said and he's 26, right? And he's a
Yeah,
centers and you know, yeah, so he's got
and
one
that's
year left. Just I don't
that's
mind
that's
keeping any of these guys for another couple years, but I would be very wary of signing any of them long term.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, Frost brings that center depth that the Flames have not really truly had for a long, long time. As far as somebody that
Yeah,
can actually produce in the faceoff dot. Would I give him
yeah,
a 2 year deal? Probably, right? Because it's not going to hurt us. It's not like we're going to be strapped with the cap in 2 years. So it's really nothing, and he's not going to get much of a raise compared to what he's getting paid right now.
yeah,
Other than maybe $1 million. Like, so what? The cap in 2 years going to be should be considerably higher than it is now. Farabee's the one for me, and I've always, I mean, he tries his ass off every game. He scores goals, on
somehow.
occasion. Yeah, he hits people. Like, there is a lot to like to his game. I just find him super uncoordinated and out of position, and just kind of like he can really fuck up a play, or he can pull something out of his ass and score a goal. Like, it's really bizarre to watch him on the ice. There's like
It-
there's just no rhyme or reason to Joel Farabee at all.
That's a good way to put it. Like, I think he'd be a fine piece for, I don't know, a Tampa Bay or something like that. Like a
Sure.
perfectly fine third line winger. He
Mhm.
plays too high in the lineup in Calgary. That is what it is. We don't
Yeah.
have
That's just
any top
situational.
line forwards, and that's all there is to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
um, and he seems to be he do pretty good on the PK. I think he's in position a
Mhm.
little bit more than you give him credit for, but not all the time. And the uncoordinated part is definitely true. But the Flames have a knack for getting uncoordinated players.
Yeah.
Whether it be Oliver Shillington or Andrew Mangiapane or Joel Farabee, we always have to have one guy who just can't seem to skate without falling
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, it seems to be something maybe in the water. Maybe there's mold at the dome that they need to clear out from the flood in 2013, maybe.
That
So,
was 2013.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Jesus Christ. That was 13 years ago.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they needed a new arena that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I digress. I digress. I mean,
I, I
they
heard
tried.
I heard the new arena is going to be mostly underground.
Yeah, it makes sense. Most arenas are.
Yeah. Be
Yeah, I
interesting
mean,
to see if there's another flood.
yeah. I mean, it's I was gonna say, and the dome is mostly underground.
Yeah. Um anyways. Yeah.
It's it, it's
For,
one.
for,
It's 2 blocks north, so it's out of the floodplain.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm not overly worried about them making these moves as soon as possible in the off season.
No,
Um,
not all.
they're going to make a move or two. I wouldn't be upset with Craig if he just kind of rolls with a very very similar lineup to start next season. Um, but he's probably going to make one or two moves. I just don't want them
Yeah,
to be banking too much on the Frost Farabee Sharangovich cohort. I think that
I I don't think they are.
I hope you're right. I'm really worried about them like using Frost and Farabee. Like they put an A on Farabee's jersey. Like really they really want these two
Yeah, but
guys to work.
yeah, but I mean, in all honesty, I mean that just comes from a situational thing, right? We moved out Kadri, we moved out Anderson. You, it was just inevitable that somebody was going to be, picking up those letters, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I
guess.
think I think next year the uh the letter people will definitely be different. Oh, yeah, and Uyghur, right? So I mean, it's like your options are somewhat limited. You either give it to somebody in his first year, or or Victor Olofsson.
Would have been nice to have
Yeah.
to give it to Ball, I think.
I think, yeah. I If anybody on the back end has earned it, I would say Kevin has for sure.
Or
Um,
I know he's probably going to be moved out, but Joel Hanley, I think, probably is a pretty decent A.
yeah. I mean, I try to make sure that my letter wearers are consistently in the
In
games.
the lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's my one criteria
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
it. But I mean, yeah, obviously the captain makes sense.
There's
This
not many there's just not many options, and I get that, but
no,
they did choose Farabee, and there just comes a point where this organization has put a lot of stress on leadership in the past.
right,
And I'm not saying they're going to say, Farabee is the captain or whatever when Backlund's gone. I'm worried that they're going to put too many of their eggs in one or two baskets with those two guys specifically. I don't mind either player, but neither player is good enough to build around. And I've heard them say those fucking words. We want to build around Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Mahoney just do something stupid like that, I have way more optimism for what Craig Conroy would do.
Yeah.
Personally, I think. I mean, in all honesty, like if they draft really well for the next 2 years and manage to bring 4 out of their draft picks into the lineup in the next 2 years, great. I don't you're still not really building around those guys, right? Because by then, like you will have gotten rid of Coleman, Olafson, um, Hanley will be gone. Like so, like there's going to be room for them
White
while
Cloud will
keeping them.
probably be gone too.
I would think, right? And
I
you know
really
what? I
like
mean, what
White Cloud.
100%, 100%. And it's unfortunate that he came in at this time, given his age and where the Flames are, because White Cloud 5 years ago, he'd be one of those guys where I say this is what you're building around.
Imagine a
Right?
White Cloud and Tanev pairing, like 2 years ago.
Like that would be unreal as a pairing, but I would be wary on putting all your eggs into one line.
Well, but at that point,
But
I'm talking about a couple years ago. We would have had,
yeah,
you know, Hannafin and Anderson and White Cloud and
yeah.
Tanev, and like you plug White Cloud and Tanev out against fucking
So you're
any line,
saying
and that line ain't scoring.
so you're saying at this time, so the team dynamic or looks like, so we have Matthew Tkachuk, Johnny Gaudreau, Sean
Yeah,
Monahan, Elias Lindholm, and then on the back end and Michael Backlund, who's who's the
slotted
your
properly.
number slotted prop number one, number two killer for on the other team as far as forecheck and whatnot, and then on the back end you've got Tanev, White Cloud. Yeah, see the conversation would have been a lot different because we'd be having that conversation now saying, "Hey, we won our cup, so now we're rebuilding. Life is good, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you heard it here
Oh,
first. If we had
anyways,
White Cloud back then, we would have won a goddamn cup.
maybe, maybe.
Aaron damn it. No, I'm kidding. It just would
Um,
have been really cool.
it
You
all
are
depends on
absolutely
how Markstrom
unreal.
was playing. Did you see Markstrom fight the
Oh,
other
you know
night?
what? I take it back. I take it back. Fuck. Why did you do that? Why did you have to do that?
Did you see him fight Shesterkin?
No, no, but
Shesterkin just beat the absolute shit out of him. It was quite
really,
hilarious. I mean,
that's interesting. I thought that Markstrom would be the kind of guy that could throw down. I mean, he
well,
talks and acts like
like
he's.
he held his own when it came to like staying up. He stayed up and he was throwing, but he was missing.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And Shesterkin, and it's funny because Shesterkin's shorter than he is. But anyways, Shesterkin just took him down at the end, and yeah,
So you're saying he was missing, much like he does on the first shot in every game?
yeah.
Done.
And
Boom.
nowadays the second and third and fourth as well.
Well, that's what happens when you get to that age, right? I
Yeah,
hear.
yeah,
And you've only ever been an average goaltender. Um,
yeah. He had like 2 or 3 really good years. They were just all spread out with a bunch of shitty years in between.
yeah. Yeah, he's had 2 or 3 really good years so far in his career on 3 different teams.
Yeah, 2 different teams. He's been on 3 different teams, but he only had good years on 2 different teams. Anyways, um, yeah. When it comes to those mid-aged guys, again, just to wrap it up, don't put all your eggs in one basket, Conroy. I'm looking at the prime aged cohort of like whoever we draft this year, along with Perek and the Reshnies and the Potters and all those kinds of guys. Those guys are going to be the main core of our team when we are a really good team in
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 years type of thing. Um, I just I don't want to see a bunch of guys who are like 32, 33 who are overpaid because we thought they were really good when our team sucked. You know what I mean?
I don't. We don't need a nostalgia team, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and as far as nostalgia, it would just be because they've been on the team for a while. Like it's not even like they've never been that good. They've never been that bad, but like they're not certainly not build the team around. You know,
Yeah.
if Conroy's watching games, which we see that he is, um, if Gradine has another season like he has started off and how he looks this year, if he progresses on that next year, that's the type of guy you build around.
Yeah. I have, you know, my expectations for him were when we first drafted him. I looked at his highlights. I looked at there's this one guy I follow on YouTube. I should probably shout him out. I can't remember his name, but I'll look it up and I'll shout him out next time. But he does like draft breakdowns or breakdowns of drafted players and of prospects that are like
Mhm.
15 minutes long, and there's like examples of all the things the players do well and examples of all the things the players do badly or average or whatever. It's like it's not just concentrated on the good, which is what a lot of those videos and highlight packages and stuff like that are like. And what I watched Gradines, and I remember being really excited because he could score from distance. His main issues seem to be things that were teachable, and he seems to have now, um, learned on, progressed on a lot of those
Mhm.
faults. Not all of them, but I think that this guy, when we first got him, I thought probably a really solid middle six winger. Um, in a few years, and now I'm thinking he's going to be like he's going to be our first line winger next year, almost for sure. Now, will he
It's
produce like a
almost a
first line
guarantee.
winger should? Probably not, because
Mhm.
he won't have anyone to play with. But
Right. Yeah,
um,
to be a first line or productive first line winger. Geez, I'll try that again. Um, you definitely need to have two other members to be productive, right?
mhm,
And like it's Huberto. Yeah, I don't know. He has incredible vision of the ice. He
he
really does.
does.
He
And
has it. He has this ability to protect the puck that young players don't have in this league.
yeah,
Playing against veterans.
yeah, for sure. And it's really exciting to see. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm really liking. I'm almost considering getting a Gradine jersey because I really, really like the way he plays, and I think he's going to be an
Mhm.
important part of our team for a long, long time. Um, but I haven't decided on that yet. But
It's a good
yeah,
call.
and I don't know how much you've been watching. I know you've been on vacation, but Perek has looked really good. He had one really, really tough night. I think it was against Anaheim where he just kept getting belted. And that's happened from time to time. But the last few games, again, minus the Colorado game where the entire team was just awful, the last few games, he's been scoring more. He's been looking a lot more, um, just his vibes are high, and it's translating into production and translating into confidence, and he's also not holding on to the puck as much. Like he's his awareness seems to be raised, heightened, I suppose. Heightened awareness, we'll say, when it comes to other players on the ice, where they are, and when he's got to get rid of the puck as a, you know, which would be way sooner than he would have had to in junior. And so he's learning. He's still got a long way to go, but I think, I mean, he scored a goal, got an assist the other night. He scored another goal a couple nights before that. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this guy comes into camp next year. I think he's going to be a huge part of our team. Um, and really, Gradine and Perek and Wolf are the only guys that have played NHL time that I'm like currently on our roster and in our system that I'm really confident are going to be top level producers in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The other prospects are hopeful for sure. Guys like Reshny. I'm hopeful. I don't think he's going to be a top line guy, but I'm hopeful that he can slot in and be an effective middle six guy.
Yep.
But I do agree with the three that you said there. Wolf, obviously, he struggled at the beginning of the season. He's young. I'm not worried about Wolf because since January 1, he's been really freaking incredible. Um,
Yep.
and I'm even going to say the game against Colorado, even though he was pulled,
None of that was on him.
none of that was on him. Like
The
that
team
was
was
an
fucking
onslaught.
awful.
That was an absolute onslaught. That was insane. That was that was one of the worst lopsided periods I've seen in years.
Ever.
Like that
Ever.
was unreal.
Yeah.
And obviously we're in this rebuild situation. We got a bunch of young guys, and they were just simply outmatched with a against a team that has some very high end talent.
And they weren't ready. And
Yeah,
um, you know, I think Wolf probably could have had one or two of those, but I'm not going to blame him on any of that because, again, your matchup guys are just being outmatched. Like their fourth line center, I can't even remember his name right now, has 17 goals.
right.
Let me check this out. Let me check out what I was looking at before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we
It's gonna
have
You're not gonna like it.
we have three guys with
One.
17 goals.
I was gonna say we have one guy with more than that.
Yeah, exactly, and it's Morgan Frost.
Yeah,
Um, and
our number one center, baby.
yeah, and that's fine for where we are, but like when your fourth line center has
Yeah,
17 goals and like a bunch of like that team, like I don't even want to talk about that game because we knew that's what's going to happen. We know
right.
that we've got Colorado coming up again in
1 week, Thursday.
on Thursday, next Thursday, not tomorrow, but
Yeah,
next Thursday, and then again next Tuesday. They're going to spank us. We'll be mad. We'll go in and play hard, but they're going to spank us again. And
good.
it is what it is, man. Um,
you know, Given the position we're in on the standings, right? We're, third from the bottom, kind of a tight race with Chicago right now, the back and forth. So these are the games, right?
yeah,
This is what we wanted. We want high level draft pick this year, at the
yeah.
very least.
And I think even when we were losing earlier in the season, we were doing like we've only lost one game like as bad as we lost last night or the other night against Colorado, and that's fine. Like the guys play hard, the guys play to win. They do win
Mhm.
sometimes. They don't throw in the white towel, and they even came back in the second and third period. And while they got scored
Yeah,
on a bunch more, I thought that they looked way better. Like they didn't just
yeah,
throw in the towel. Um,
yeah. It wasn't so lopsided. Um, Granted, I'll give some of that being that the Avs let off the gas a bit
Score
because they
effect,
didn't
yeah,
need to push so hard, right? But the uh, but the end result is the Flames didn't give up. They still continued to play the rest of the game, and right to the end, right? They were still getting into scrums and making hits, and putting forth effort, and that's like you and I talked about this last year, and maybe even the year before. and with the inevitable rebuild pending back then, was I don't care what the end result is of the game as long as there is compete with the players on the ice.
Yeah.
I want to see progression and I want to see compete. And yes, those types of games suck to watch and it's shitty to watch the score and blah blah blah. But if we're losing games by a goal or two and there's a ton of compete, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that, and I'm even happy about it.
Yeah, exactly. So if looking at the schedule coming up here, we got the Golden Knights, who haven't been great this year, but they are in a playoff spot because the Pacific is awful. The Ducks, who are the best team in the Pacific, which is hilarious because there's been times when they have been the first place team in the Pacific, and they wouldn't have even been in a playoff spot in the East.
Right.
Fucking just absurd. But
Yeah.
they score lots, so you got to watch out for them. And then Dallas, Colorado, a back-to-back with Seattle and Utah. Those are the only real winnable games, I think, for us. And then, but there's a back-to-back there, so maybe not. And then another one against Colorado and another one against LA. Kind of a murderer's row for us to end off the season. I don't think, we're not going to get swept. We're not going to sweep. We're probably going to win a couple of those games, but I think when all is said and done, we're still going to end up with, I want to say I probably right where we are, third last. We're going to end up with the third best lottery odds, in my opinion.
I think the ideal scenario with the remaining 8 games is we get 4 points.
Yep.
Which, based on the schedule, it's going to be pretty close to that, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Dallas, I can't see Dallas losing to us. Kings are going to be, and that's how we close off the season, and they're going to be right in the hunt for a wild card, so they're going to be playing their asses off.
That's also going to be Anze Kopitar's last. If they're eliminated from the playoffs and they have nothing to play for, they're going to have that to play for. That's going to be his last game ever.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
What a career, right?
Yeah, full credit to him. I've always been a fan of his. There's other players on that team, that the Drew Doughties of the world, who I have very little respect for when it comes to
Why?
Because he never keeps his fucking mouth shut.
He should have been born in the Kachuk family.
He really should have. But
pretty much like
instead,
a brother.
anyways. But I've always had lots of respect for the way Kopitar plays the game and the skill he has. And I love players who can play on both ends of the ice at an elite level. And he's been able to do that for many, many years. So it's going to be sad to see him retire, but also, ushering in a new era for the Pacific Division here.
That's a lot of games for one team.
Yeah,
I love that.
I don't know how many.
This is why Backlund will finish his career in Calgary. It's those types of moments that they don't happen that often, right? Where a team can be drafted by, or a player can be drafted by a team and play their entire career at a reasonably high level, even right now. Like as you said, right now, Michael Backlund leads the Calgary Flames in points, which is unreal. Granted, it's only 40 of them, but he still leads the team.
Yeah.
At a boy captain.
Absolutely. So, Anze Kopitar has played 1,512 games.
Let's see.
That's awesome. A lot of fucking games.
Yeah, man. That's
20 years worth of games.
Playoff? Is that just regular season, or does that include playoff?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I just exited out of the window.
Yeah. Fair.
But that's a lot. Like,
That is a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I like
Mhm.
it. Yeah. Well,
So yeah, it's going to be a fun off season for us. We've still got a few games left here. I think we're probably going to head on to do a live stream tomorrow, which will be tonight by the time you're watching this. So make sure you hop on and check us out um, on the live stream during the hockey game tomorrow. Should be a fun one.
absolutely. The pending dreaded end of the 2025-6 season is coming, and
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun watching some guys come out of their shell and take on different roles and come onto the team and develop as a Calgary Flame. So we'll see what the end of the season has in store for us, and uh, we'll be paying close attention to the draft because I think it's going to be a good time this year.
absolutely.
We'll,
I'm
we'll
just
definitely
looking
be playing.
forward to seeing a game where we have, and I think it's about to happen, a game where we have Hunter Brstevich, Zane Perek, and Yan Kuznetsov all playing in the same game.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe it's coming up tomorrow. That's what the practice lines looked like. They had Kuznetsov playing with Perek and Brstevich playing with
White
Mata.
Cloud. Oh,
Mata.
really?
Yeah.
So
White
so
Cloud and
they've
Ball.
got they got White Cloud and Ball together again.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't mind that. I
No,
mean,
me neither.
I have a hard time believing it's going to finish that way, but that's okay. I don't mind seeing. I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, me too. And I
Hmm,
don't know. I've really been impressed with Kuznetsov this year. I'm excited to see how
100%.
he continues his development over the next couple of years because I could see him being a solid top four option for us once we are competitive.
Yeah, yeah. 3 months into the season, you could watch him on the ice and think that he's been in the league for 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's really impressed me as a old defender.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what he brings to the games when he's on the ice.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Well, do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. Other than don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video with everybody you know if you wouldn't mind. I'll have the Rocky Mountain Maniacs link in the description as well. As you know, the guys that we took their song for our intro. They're nice enough to allow us to continue doing that, so it's great news. And a good Calgary band. So if you're in Calgary or even coming for a visit, search them out. Try and find them, find out where they're playing because they do a lot of live stuff around Calgary. Um, other than that, thanks for tuning in for another show. Go Flames!
Go Flames, go.
Cheers.